Hi, this is Lynn with Educating with Wisdom, and this is the second part. It's like a part A that goes what heaven needs us to do. In part one, I discussed divesting England from the Red Dragon, and the Queen can help in many things. Challenge the Meghan Markle and Prince Harry wedding. For the best of both them and the rest of the world, it needs to be challenged. And I did that, and I did it online before they got married. And to show some of my work and the signs. And all of these things are sitting in the first section. Now, I need to make it clear that I'm not sure the people I'm going to be writing to will actually be helping, because in the past they didn't. And in section 3, you'll see who some of these people were. And you'll begin to see what the government and some of the others have been doing as well. It's far more extensive than what you know. And the press has not been stepping up to the bat. I will also be talking about who I need to thank, because you have no idea how much the Germans and the Russians have stood up to the bat in terms of helping with things. So I think it's really time at this point that the whole liberal and Barack Obama-driven media system begins to understand, the rest of them begin to understand that this is cockamamie. Okay. When we begin to engage in the tree of life, God understood, by the way, Yahweh has a feminine ending, Adonai has a feminine ending, which means my mistress. Yahweh has the EHAH ending, which is living at hand God, or the God that's at hand. That's after Hava, after the male said, and you are Hava, you are living. But that's not what God called us. God called us Adam. Both of us are Adam together. It takes two of us, a male and a female, to make a Adam. Just one of their children is the daughter of Adam, and just it would be the son of Adam. But together, you need the two together to make Adam, and you can't have 3 or 4 or 5. It takes 2. This is going to be important because one of the reasons that we were led through the age of men had something to do with men having an inkling that they had something to do with reproduction, but the marginalization of men within the reproductive system. It's important to understand that before Hadam became on the scene, and we're going to take a look at recent findings in Israel. Before Hadam came on the scene, there was the animal person, all right, with the animals, and then there was the beast person. And after the animal person got fire and a few little things, they became the beast person. And these beast people didn't really, they weren't fully attached to heaven. They were still the beast people. What you needed to do is, with the beast people, they studied animals to figure out how they should be behaving in order to maximize it. So things like lions, who there might be 2 male lions and 5 or 6 female lions, and they hunt together. They get to spend some time with their kids before somebody else takes them over. When they stand up, they're handsome, and they sort of remind you of men. So they sort of took on the lion as the animal that they thought they should kind of act like. If we take a look at Jacob's actual blessing, and I believe it is chapter 39 of Genesis, what he has to say about Judah is not good. The real bow of the righteous one is Joseph, and Joseph gets the real blessings. So we're going to discuss this the next time around, and this is important because I would like to read right here what we're going to go into. Is when we're going to look at this discovery of agriculture, and you will understand how God, Yahweh, the living God, is going to put her arms around everyone. So now I can put them around everybody who got agriculture, and it's great. And we have Hava, we have the Isha to thank for this. We have the female goddesses to thank for this. So we're going to put our arms around all these people. And in that regard, I help to represent St. Paul. I'm also looking at all of the major female goddesses that look after nature. And also for mercy, Yahweh as well. And this is the real message of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ comes and says, I represent the God of the living. This is what my Father acts like. Okay? It's not like Zeus. It's not like Orisis. I'm not like Apollo. I'm not like Horus. I'm not like any of these things. This is what the Father symbol is like, because the Father symbol was so wicked. That's one of the reasons why when God wants to do something within the Israelites, he doesn't have a father around, because it's the Chronos effect. So here it says the people of Israel are God's.
Okay, so let's pick that up.
Here it says the people of Israel are God's witness. When we want to engage in that life, we're going to know good and bad. This is true. But on this learning, on this heuristic learning that we go through, in order to come back into the tree of life, we let us know what we're doing that's right, what we're doing that's wrong. We make repentance, we make restitutions, and we don't lie. Now, there's a whole slew of people that have been lying out there. Sometimes they've been lying because they didn't know, and the church and these other people have been lying, and they know that they've been lying. A lot of them know that they have been lying. So in that regard, part of what that repentance is that God is asking me to do is out where I see the lies have gone on. And the beauty where it says Israel are God's witness is because Bethel is where Jacob first comes into contact with this God, and its chief archangel is Israel. They're two beings, and you're not getting this because you don't want to get it.
All right, I'm trying to cut this short so that I can fit in the other section altogether. Archaeologists find possible evidence of earliest human agriculture. Okay, this is 23,000 years ago, and that means these people were actually there at least 24,000 years ago. We're looking about the last time we went through the age of Aquarius into the age of Capricorn, which is where we would be learning. Look at this, new research, excavation, 11,000 years earlier. Plant remains along the Sea of Galilee. Now, this happens not far from Tiberias or Magdalene, okay? The real agriculture in the world happens here. The new research, all right, what is going on here? This is so exciting. I urge you to read through it. This looks like an experimental station. And so this is where Haddam, the area that Haddam first came in, and they did all the work for human beings. These are not the animal people. These are not the beast people. These are Haddam. These are representatives from God. They have sickles. They have grinding tools. They are doing some amazing things. And this is not haphazard agriculture. This is really something. At the same time, we have here. Now, I really think that this has something to do with the Canaan wine, the water into wine, going through the menorah, because it's that time of the year, it's around Christmas. This is important because they found this. This is in the area of Magdalene, Miguel. Again, this is around the Tiberias area. So this is a hotbed of God's work in this world. And this is a witnessing. So things have sort of been coming together, and this is for everybody. This is not just for the Jews. This is not just for the Christians. The Canaanite, oops, you're going to see the Canaanite with the Lost Book of Nostradamus. Here we go, the Canaanite. It's time-stamped. Now, this Canaanite is time-stamped with all these other things you're going to talk about. The sickle that they find here with the archaeologist. This became the national flower here. Again, in Sagittarius. So we've got two major Sagittarian signs that are going on right then and there. Let's come back here. Let's see if I can find it. They have proto-wheats that would be found in grains. You can see how they were working with genetics, rudimentary bread making from, this is going on, scorched stones. These are not basic, this is far more interesting than anything we've ever seen. They had a sickle, all right? And let's see if there's anything else in here. So this is, all these things are in these articles. A sickle for heaven's sake. So let's go and see it. When we talk about the kingdoms, we're talking about this area here, and Bethel is here. Notice it, this is the area of Benjamin. This is not Benjamin for Joseph. This is not about Judah, okay? So I will get into that in a little bit. So we're talking about touchdown in this area. All right, that's what we're looking at. And these here, the Ammonites, the Moabites, and the Phoenician states, as well as Judah, have taken on the god, the wicked god of the Phoenicians in this area, and it is the god of Moloch or Shemesh. And that is the one with the arms out with the burnt sacrifice. This one, when they go back up and they separate, it's the god from Babylon, and that is the calf bull. That's very different. There's no human sacrifice that goes around there. So you haven't learned your lessons yet. Let's come over here. Okay, I'm going to introduce you to the Hattic language, and I'm going to show you the Hattic was centered around the female goddesses, although there were male goddesses, and they weren't sex people. They weren't big into human sacrifice. This was considered to be the Minoans, all right? Aleph, now this is going to look very familiar because Aleph that the Phoenicians use and that the Hebrews use stands for bull. For them, it stands for tongue, but also to speak. And Zari means mortal, not man, it means mori. So here we have A through Z. This is actually where the Phoenicians get it from, the Phoenician languages, and it lets you know who actually had the first alphabet going on. It wasn't the Phoenicians, it was the Minoans. Let's put you on pause. Here we go. With the Phoenicians, it is Aleph is ox, not tongue, not to speak, and Zenyan, which is the Z, is weapon. This is not good. Here we go with the Hebrew. They have ox head, or the Aleph. Notice actually the Minoans is far more noble. It's tongue to speak. You can see this, and the sound is A-H-E-H. Here we go. Where is the Z? Here's the Ha, tent wall. Ha, to look. Man with arms raised. All right, Hey is here. Where is our Z? Modern Hebrew. Now they would have a Z in here because I've seen it. I've got to take my glasses off to take a peek. There it is. Now they have food cut here, but there's another instance where it means they have food cut for this kind, the ancient Semitic, but that's not actually, see, it's Zanyan, but that's not actually what they use it for. It's going to be interesting when you see another rendition of it. Okay, let's put it on pause. Here we go. Here's another rendition of it, the Torah Institute. The Aleph is now the ox, but again with the Minoan, it means to speak or the tongue. So they actually have the original, and we know that this is a European language, not Semitic. It's very important to understand that the Minoans are European and not Semitic. All right, here we go. Where was the Z? Here we go. Weapon, and that's in line with the Phoenicians. So you can see where is the Hebrew and everything really fell down just in the very beginning, even in the use of their language when they took on trade with the Ammonites, Moabites, and the Phoenicians. This is grotesque. I'm going to pick this up now where I left off from part 1, and I'm discussing why the Queen in England needs to be divested of the red dragon. I've already discussed this in part of 1, but I want to continue what we need to do and who I need to thank. Thank you.
The British need to be divested of the red dragon. It's shown in Revelations, and even though it was first brought in with the Tudors, it left England for a long time, and Queen Elizabeth brought it back in. This is clearly the big problem. I'm starting with that one because the Lost Book of Nostradamus shows the red dragon, and it shows the British its time stamped. It shows the lion with the little red hat. It shows the unicorn with the crown, and then it shows the unicorn without a crown. So it's my understanding that the Queen is ready to let the monarchy go, and she needs to be divested of the red dragon. She's the head of the church. Your church cannot have any legitimacy. No wonder it's not coming out with the truth. Okay? What can you do when the person in charge of the church has brought in the red dragon. It's there in Revelations. It's a setup, and I'll show you how it is. Elon Musk had the red dragon that was going to go up to Mars. He has the dragon with the Merlin thrusters. It's a mess. It is an utter, absolute mess. And the problem is that I caught them, and I have preventing all these people from marching into Armageddon, because that's exactly what they were doing. They set up the weaponry, you name it, they have it all there. Okay? They went so far in Revelations 5 where it speaks of the ray of God that the United States, one of their military contractors in the late 1950s, changed its name to Raytheon, which means ray of the God. This is Revelations 9, and that ray refers to Apollo's ray. This is very Luciferian. And they were setting it up, and they came up with the actual stinging sensation that caused a burning sensation all over the body, and it was called the Sheriff Program. They were going to use it on the Iraqis, and I had to step up to the back, go back to the military and say, you may not use this. And they did not use it on the Iraqis. So you're going to see where my work was used with the Syrians, with the wars. My work has been used with two of the major wars in the Middle East that happened in 2002, 2003. That happened in 2003. And then what happened again in 2014, 2015. I had to step up to the bat each time. She needs to be divested of the red dragon. She needs to have that 3-year moratorium that I put forward to the Russians that say nobody is going to be charged. So with that 3-year moratorium that I said, the powers that be can out things, and they will not be charged. Now, the Catholic Church really needed to do this because that means the priest and all these people could have added things without being charged. Let me tell you what I understand, and this is part of the second part that needs to go with this. Clergy, regardless of the clergy in Western countries, have the right to have a confession, and it's private. And what happens is that as soon as they get that confession, their mouths are sealed, and they can't even remotely kind of specifically talk about what they're hearing about. And yet, they can be cyber-stalked, cyber-monitored, all their sin can be put out there, but they can't say these. So my case was very important that the church step up to the bat and listen to it because I was their protection. I'm not their protection for sin. They have to step up to the bat, make restitutions, and do all those other things. But let me make something clear. When I say my family needed to mediate, my mother, my grandmother, and my aunts covered up incest. Incest. Sexual abuse. There was sexual abuse on the part of pornography with my father that went on for years. My mother had affairs like nobody's business. But there was incest, and each one of those women covered it up and refused to out it, refused to discuss it, and I'm here discussing it, and I'm getting into trouble, which is part of the reason why I'm going to the church to ask for mediation. Because then the other things that I'm doing for education, everybody tells me I'm wrong and I'm the problem, but my brother was indicted in federal court with my sister-in-law. So here I am, this goody-goody two-shoes, and I'm a real problem in my family. Okay? So when the church is being indicted left and right, and your own parishioners cover up all this sexual abuse, cover up all this incest, and I got news for you. These people are sitting in the pews going, that's terrible. We don't trust these people at all. We just don't trust them at all. You think I'm the problem. I was your friend. Let me give you another analogy. As a feminist, we went out and got the right to vote and all those other things, and I've sat in more church meetings to hear women tell me that the problem in the world is the feminist. Yeah. Give me a call. Okay. So we dealt with the divestment of the Queen. The Meghan Markle, that was a setup on the part of Barack Obama. He has the eager lion. This is also in Revelations. He has the Lion of Judah. This is a Revelation problem. He has the beast. He's beast one. He has the head of the lion, the body of the leopard, the feet of the bear. Chicago and California, the feet of the bear, the body of the leopard. I always thought this was going to be the the Iraqis and then the Russians. It wasn't. It turned out to be the situation that Barack Obama set up. And then he has a second beast that comes out, and she has the mouth of the mouth of the dragon, but she has the body of the lamb with horns, and that's the Rachel, the ewe. And the Rachel horns in the Old Testament is Jacob's sheep, and it's one of the few female sheep that have little horns that come out, and it's about half white and half black. Oh, Nostradamus is right on target, and Nostradamus has her in it. By the way, she's supposed to be out now, but I'm lagging a little behind. But she's supposed to be done now, and I'll show you his time dates. You can't have marriages based on tearing apart a monarchy or setting up world wars or taking things down just to support the Africans. Her mother was an occultist, and you can't get involved. I got news talking about OBing that was hitting me. As soon as Meghan Markle said that she spent her holidays going to poor places in Jamaica and Mexico, these are hot spots for the Line of Judah movement. And in 2017, the Ethiopian prince, I guess, got married to an American, and he's staying here, and she's working with Black American men and boys. So you're going to learn more about that movement, because that's something that we should not necessarily be involved in. That is a marriage that needs to be looked at. It needs to be looked at for the British, because you don't have somebody come into your system who is really looking at tearing it apart. And clearly, early on, she was interested in taking apart all of your traditions. But again, we have the red dragon configuration there, and we have the lamb. We have the lamb, the Rachel, and we have the dragon's mouth. And that's what we're looking at there. In fact, when I found out about her in 2017 in May, I said to the powers that be that monitor me, I said, William and Kate are dead. That's it. They won't even know what happened. And there was you're going to see a lot of stuff out there. You have no idea what's been going on. What else do we need to do? We need to deal with geo-globalization. Now, what does that mean? I caught the pattern for earthquakes with Christchurch in 2010 through 2011, and I knew that they needed to have a place to move to. I had already been promoting the Union of North America, and I didn't realize that it was the Francophones and the English that had kept it up, and then it became Barack Obama. New Zealand needed a place to be, and because of the Five Eyes that I found out about last year, and the fact that I don't know how the British can do it without us, we're looking at bringing Australia over. And you're saying, that's ridiculous. Well, why would we do that? Well, the Chinese are desperate for land. And they've been really good about not doing anything, about not hurting anybody, so to speak, but they can't do it with any more resources. They have a rain cloud that was produced, I guess, by silver nitrate. I'm not sure what this is, but they're producing rain clouds that doesn't sound like a healthy thing at all, the size of Alaska. They are producing the new Silk Road. And I knew that they were going into Africa, and they were putting resources into Africa because they are desperate for resources. But this new Silk Road, we have no idea what the environmental impact is going to be. But the bottom line is that even when they go in there, the Africans themselves are looking at nationalizing everything with Barack Obama and the Line of Judah movement. So the Chinese are going to end up there, and they're not going to have anything. All right? With that in mind, I'm reaching out to the Chinese, and I'm also reaching out to the Indians. Now, India needs resources as well. So this is what the deal looks like, and this is what my monitors have taken, and they've told me that they're willing to accept. But I have to out what's going on in order to make this happen. So at this point now, I have to turn my attention, when I'm done, to the Chinese community and the Indian community to let them know what's going on, because my own Christian community Doesn't do anything. By freeing up Australia, and whoever's left there, the Chinese are going to treat it very well. The Chinese can come in and take Australia. And all the resources that they would be plowing into all these other things can help their move into Australia, but can help us relocate the Australians here. And then we break apart the economy. So this is not such a bad thing that Trump is doing. New Zealand will come, but we will keep the land mass of New Zealand. So we keep the land mass of New Zealand, but they come, and they can come up into Canada. Australian, those who want to come can come over here. When you say, oh my goodness, look at all those people, how can we possibly do it? I'm just going to tell you, we move more than that into this country in a quarter year. We really do. I mean, we can do this. Now, what's going to happen with Russia? Russia will agree to take the ethnic minorities in South Africa, which is a great place because they need a place to go. And I know that this has been weighing very heavily on the British. So they can take the ethnic minorities and Russia can take them. And I'm pretty sure they're going to take them as long as we can give it out and they can get back from us what they need to happen. It will then become the Russian, European, Middle East, Trans-Indian Continental Unit, the largest unit in the world. And Russia is an environmental powerhouse, but it will have to be very frugal about how its resources are being doled out for everybody. The Indians must have water. So the deal is going to be that we get their population under control and it begins to decrease, the same as Pakistan, and we get certain things under hand. We can do this with the paradigms that I'm opening up, but they must have water. And it's the best thing for them. So we got to do the job because we've got to care about other people. All right? The Russians can go right through to the tip and the end of Israel because I've already shown that the Hatsuts and the Hittites that ended up in Israel and in part of Judea were related to the Indo-Europeans that were actually Germanic and base. And there's a land claim for them that's sitting over in that area. So they will go right to that tip. And that will go right through the Middle East. Now, the paradigms that I will open up will be able to put their arms around everybody. All right? And I will get into those paradigms shortly, but I'm just giving you an introduction to this. That will leave Africa for the Africans, and whatever needs to be nationalized at that point can be nationalized at that point, and the powerhouses that have gone out of the country that need to come back into the country to help set up and work their resources, they will have those resources that are there, and if there's anything left after the resource and property exchange that needs to occur, it can be taken in terms of farming products, those kinds of products. It will not be sent out in terms of the military. Okay? So that's what's going to happen. That is the best way we can work in geo-regionalism because it allows for a locus of control. Now, that does not mean that everybody in India gets to move up to sweep. Absolutely not. It is not going to happen. It means that certain resources, and when I bring in the new paradigms, you will see how it embraces things and cleans things up. With the tree of life, you start with the truth. Everybody is capable of telling the truth. It hurts, but you're capable of it. So what needs to happen? When you make a mistake, you tell somebody. But that also means that you have to know what your paradigms are. So for instance, in terms of the truth, in the past, men could have extramarital affairs, and I'm talking about in the Hittites with the Jews. They could go to prostitutes. They could have concubines. Some of them had sex slaves. This was all okay, but your wife wasn't allowed to. because you had to have control over her uterus so that you knew what children you had. But you could go and dump yourself out, men could go and dump themselves out. Anyway, and that was at most fornication. Well, what we now know is that you bring home STDs and all those other things that you give to your spouse, and you tear your spouse apart. So guess what? I guess it doesn't work like that. So that means Jesus is really right about some of these things. And we're going to talk about the Adam and Eve story in terms of the real, true Adam and Eve story, because that is a finding that happened that makes it all very current. So that's another thing we have to deal with. We have to talk about really new archaeological finds that sort of validates parts of the church, but also dramatically changes it. Now, this is going to sound really strange, because I think it's really strange. I'm not telling you I'm a goddess. I'm not telling you I'm a goddess. And I'm not telling you I'm any of those other goddesses. But just as I will tell you that St. Paul came through me to protect me from a bad marriage, or that it's God that's led me to this. And by the way, my monitors have seen all of this, so you're going to see a lot of God things and all these other things going on. I will also tell you that God wants me to not only represent St. Paul and help give clarity as to what needed to happen, or Yeshua, what needed to happen, or what that Adam and Eve story was about and how that needed to happen, because remember, my work has been used all over the place. I'm like one of the most important people you'll ever never hear about. I also, my birthday is December the 12th. Which represents that Artemis, and that Artemis of Ephesus. What you don't realize is that Jesus Christ may have been in the Ascend, and the Ascends were in Judea, but the Ascends were also in the northern part in Israel, and the Ascends were the priestly class under Artemis of Ephesus, which was the temple of that time. For about 800 years, that was the temple, the major temple for Artemis of Ephesus. And she located as the center of the galaxy. The center goes up and down, the constellations go around her, the Milky Way comes around, and creation comes out. Now, the Minoans, I guess, knew her as Brita Martis. She is Anara with the Hittites, and they all have dear locations. So you're going to see in the Lost Book of Nostradamus where that is and how it's specifically addressing this case. So we're looking at the Hittites with the Inara, we're looking at Artemis, we're looking at Kuan Yin, we're looking at Guadalupe, because that's all part of that December 12th Artemis phenomenon that's going on. We're getting involved in Columbus, because Columbus himself was from a family of Jews who had to convert into Christianity, so he was very much involved in what went on here, as was Nostradamus. His family was forced into it, as was Jacob of Flora. So there's this whole understanding that is seen in the Old Testament, picking it up in Revelations and in Daniel, and then it's seen in the Lost Book of Nostradamus, and it's time-stamped for now. So I will show you that, because that's one of the reasons why the military so loves my work. So does everybody else. So does the Queen. So remember, the Queen would like to get her wings, and she would like to help the world and people, because goodness knows. And she very much appreciates the fact that this is the last thing I want to do. Folks, I sleep in a cubby home. I don't have a home. I am black mold. I'm basically homeless. I could not accept help from my folks, because that would have come with the condition that I'm absolutely quiet about everything, and I can't do that. And my father, even though I'm pushing 60, is still here, and he's Chronos. And that is the Chronos figure. That's one of the reasons why Jesus comes and says, I'm the son that represents the Father. Though this Father does not act like Chronos. This is not like, we're not talking about Zeus here. He's not a philanderer. He's not a Chronos. He doesn't eat his kids alive. We don't go to Marduk, which is the golden calf bull. We're not going to Moloch, which is the one that's got his hands out, and your children get burned alive. I mean, he's nothing like this. He's nothing like Zeus. I mean, you're nothing, and he doesn't even like the Pharisees. He doesn't like the priest. He doesn't like the priest. He doesn't like the priest. He can't stand the falseness of these whole things. He's nothing like it. And he comes and he doesn't say there isn't a God the Mother, because the Holy Spirit is God the Mother. He says, never blasphemy against that. But he said, this is what the Father is like. And when he says the Father and I are one, that does not mean they're the same being. Any more than I can tell you, I have a lot of direct information coming up and down. I can tell you God and I are one on this, and I'll get beeps and squeeps, and you'll see all kinds of things going up on my line. They'll let you know they're there. All right? My timing for things lets you know that I was plugged into God. But I am not one with God. That is the Holy Spirit that links me up to that information. So what I'm hoping to do is to help bring as many of you into this age of Hadam, which is the cosmic earthling, the one who brings agriculture and how to serve the earth, brings it to earth, to link you up to that, to free you up from your negativity, and to help you get on that path where you're lights, you're enlightened with this Holy Spirit. And that is the bottom line of what needs to happen. Let's move on, or else I'm never done with this. Geo-regionalization, I dealt with that. I dealt with what happened to the Queen. Oh, the Meghan Markle, Prince Harry. I put my reservations up, and I contested it before they got married. I had it in beforehand. You can't have a setup for Armageddon. This was a clearly Barack Obama phenomenon. This was done by a black man.
Wait a minute, I guess.
Now, and actually, under church law, and I'm writing to clergy at this time, under church law, you need to be able to contest a marriage. Now, I didn't know if he had issued the bans of marriage, but he did make a statement during the service itself, but given that it's a closed ceremony, nobody from the outside could ever do it. So I kept getting all these messages to make sure that I put that command out there that God would reject their marriage. God rejects their marriage, because their marriage was, it's based on blackmail. It's based on the undoing of things. Barack Obama and groups set her up as a feminist and pushed her after they found my cases in 2011, 2012. He's elected. By 2013, she's divorced, and they're setting her up for all these things.
Okay, I'm going to put this on pause and sort of speed up here.
Okay, that needs to be done. Now, I have some really positive things that I need Prince Charles to do. I need him to take over the issue of cleaning up the oceans. You know, really getting this on track. We do not need him. And they may very well let go of the monarchy. The powers that be, they'll want to take the monies, free up the monies, and put it into things that are life enhancing, life producing, cleaning up the environment. And this is very much one of the things that this man loves, and holistic health. So we're on the same page of many areas. I can't imagine that there is any better person to head up ocean and ocean cleanup than Prince Charles. I can't. I can't imagine that there's any better person to work with than Prince Harry to put cognitive restructuring into the core curriculum for schools, literally into the core curriculum, which is something I've been trying to get going for a long time. There are some things that they need to be able to do, and they need to be able to let go of all the other worldly stuff, and they have to use this as where they're putting their money and energies in terms of restitutions. And so there is areas of work that these people need to be in. They need to be freed up of the negativity that the populace helps to put on them. And when I mean the populace helps to put on them, let's remember that it was not Pilate that crucified Christ. It was not the Sanhedrins that eventually did it. It was the masses. And so I'm holding the masses accountable. Now, when I talk about other people's sins, I'm going to open up my own. Now, I've already opened up my own, so I don't have anything else to confess. There's no other restitutions or anything like that. But I'm not going to ask you to do something that I myself am not willing to do publicly. And I'm willing to do it on the internet. Now, when you say that this is really horrible, and I'm going to speak about my family, understand these powers of being get constant ridicule. They're constantly under a microscope, constantly ridiculed. And then you throw darts at them. And so I'm willing to put myself out there, and I'm going to open up these records, which shows you this grotesqueness, but also lets you see how they used my prophecy. And it's necessary. This is a necessary thing. So I'm going to do it, even though I've already done it, I'm going to do it again. 2, I want to tell you that when I say I just followed God, I did the whistleblowing, but before I do the whistleblowing, I go and I ask nicely and I tell them what needs to happen. I mean, I'm not just a whistleblower. I go through all those processes. I have a degree in psychology, and I'm still a certified teacher in the state of Florida. Believe me, they'd like me to lose that license. But the bottom line is that I know how to conduct myself, and I know how to get things done. But when you are up against a corrupt system, they don't budge. All right? And that's when you start the whistleblowing process up. So Florida actually has more inspector general's offices in the country. And what it does is that it uses it to falsify the sense that there's something good that's happening. Every once in a while, something comes out. But what it does is that it vets the information. And then if it's important enough, your life disappears. The cyber stalking, the cyber monitoring, the threats. I'm going to show you all these things. You're going to see them. And nobody will investigate. All right? And the masses do nothing. So the powers of being needed to watch the masses do nothing. And the church do nothing. You do nothing. I have some thank yous. Before I end, I have some thank yous that I need to give out here. We've got to get our pornography and our smut and all those things off out of the cosmos. And you're going to see, I'm going to show you in the Bible, and you're going to see in the Lost Book of Nostradamus and all of that. You will also see where I went to Senator Sachs' office, and I warned them about all these things, including the war and all these other things. You're going to see the email. And I told him when Jupiter went into Leo, I said, every 12 years there is an escalation of war that's going on in the Middle East, and I caught it in 2001, and I found the product, and it went out to the military in 2002, 2003, and now they're still doing it again in 2014 and 2015, and I've been fighting against it. So I also said, our sins are piled as high as the sky. We have all the pornography. We're the big problem, and we're not going to be allowed off the planet. So then the next 3 shipments that needed to go out during that Jupiter and Leo period, the next 3 shipments that needed to go out to the space station failed. Failed. Period. So you're going to see punctuations of things that are happening. And there's actually like two parts of this that are going to happen. It may be part two that I'm going to say is going to be my thank yous. So my thank yous might be part two. Let's get on to what I'm thanking here. I need to thank the government for not using the sheriff program against the Iraqis. Thank you. And not using the eager lion, because I had to go and tell them about how the lion is in the Middle East and how, you've got to watch about it. We're set up. I didn't even know about the eager lion, how that was in place. And they didn't use it. Thank you, government. That has to be taken apart too. The eager lion has to be dissolved. I'd like to thank the Germans, and especially Chancellor Merkel and the German embassy in Washington, D.C. for their work with the refugees and Syrians, even in the face of understandable opposition. I reached out to them in November of 2015 and then sent them information in 2016. So they realized I was cyber stalked and cyber monitored, asking for asylum, explaining what I had done, what I had given, and they kept that information because they understood that Barack Obama was very much behind much of what was going on. And they continued taking the Syrians because they realized that what happened in the Middle East at that point was not about the Syrians. I'd like to thank Chancellor Merkel and the Germans, and even though it's been very difficult on this company in this country, thank you. I'd like to thank the former FBI director, Mr. Comey, who, I'm monitored. I went to the office, to the Florida Republican office, crime, basically, because I couldn't vote for Hillary Clinton. I knew all my information had to get onto her server, and I brought my information to the office, showed it to them, and they said, "Oh, this needs to be in a safe." And the next day, he did come out and say that her server. So you're going to look at things that probably they ended up. They ended up at Barack Obama. Sorry. They ended up there. They ended up at the British. I know you can see where the stalking and the monitoring began. There's no way they could be allowed to do that unless all these things happened. And that's one of the reasons why Hillary Clinton pulled out in 2013. And Comey went in. Actually, Barack Obama wanted to control the Sagittarians. So that I told them there's only one group of people that hold Leo accountable, and that's Sagittarius. So Aquarius. Okay. The Russian embassy in Washington, D.C. I contacted them last July. They needed to be held up, and their coat of arms, they don't have dragons and wicked lions and unicorns that are wicked, that are found in the Lost Book of Nostradamus or that are found in Revelations. The Russians have, since 1993, November the 30th, which is Winston Churchill's birthday, they have the St. George. And I knew, remember, I have this thing with God, and I've been watching what's going on. I knew it was Barack Obama and the British. And you'll see. I'd like to say, whoever monitors, if you get some of my work to these people, you let me know that you get it. I'd like to also thank the Russians for not just their restraint, but for what happened to the Syrians, because I prayed and prayed and prayed, and this goes back to President Trump that I'm going to thank in a moment. President Trump, I prayed and prayed and prayed before the Syrians were attacked about the Syrians, what needed to happen for the Syrians, and thank you. Thank you for reaching out and protecting them. Thank you if you're going to take the minorities from South Africa, if they're willing to go, and if they're not, then they're not. Thank you for helping feed all these people and helping getting water to all the people. Thank you for everything you're going to do. Thank you. Thank you for holding firm about not bringing homosexual marriage in. You're the only one. Thank you. I'd like to thank President Trump. You're looking at a feminist that's here. When you look at Bill Clinton, he did all of his stuff when he was in office. President Trump was not in office. Also, all of the awful lewdness that went on with cyber stalking and cyber monitoring in my case. And I mean, they monitored me in the most personal ways and sent information out. You're going to see some of them. They're up on, they're there. All right, that happened with the okay of Barack Obama. They went after me to destroy me, the woman who stood up to help other people to protect them. Let's make something clear, and if you think I'm kidding, Barack Obama's mother was sexually violated by his father. She was not quite 18, and she never knew he was... An 18-year-old does not take up with somebody that's 24 years old from another country, knows almost nothing about them, and there's no such thing as African-American marriage and white marriage. It's very, I mean, like, this isn't going to happen. She was too smart. And on top of that, she didn't know he was married. He didn't know he had children. This man had lied about his marriage to come over to the country. He lied to her about it. He lied after he was divorced, claiming he was still married to her. Barack Obama's father was a beast. A beast. So Barack Obama has no problem using women at all. He has never acknowledged that about his own mother. The Line of Judah movement has never really acknowledged how Africans actually first lifetime slavery another African on this continent. And if we're going to talk about slavery for just a moment, I'm just going to hold up the Irish who were brought over as indentured slaves, 300,000 of them. And within about an 80-year period, 2 million came over. If somebody was going to have a problem in their country, given how the British have treated them, oh my God, they should be the most mentally retarded people on the planet. The same can be said of European Jews. They should be the most retarded people on the planet. They aren't. This bit that you want to blame everybody else for the fact that your men won't even dig a well and maintain it, or maintain the investments people put in there, that you're blaming it on everybody else when there was nothing about war. And if you look at Europe, the lines have been rewritten so many times, it's not funny. There was more immigration out of Europe. Twice as many immigrants left Europe in a 150-year period than all the African slaves that left all of Africa in a 400-year period. When you talk about intelligence, do not forget the Irish and do not forget European Jews. And when they say, okay, but the Dutch, their IQs were this after the war, the Dutch knew enough to dig the wells and put the things together. It is time that the Africans take responsibility. You're going to stop enabling them, and you're going to stop using their resources, because you are enabling wickedness, and that needs to stop. And I'm talking to the world. You're talking about the brotherhood there, and I studied clitorectomies when I was at Wells, how many years ago? 40 years ago? And I cried and cried and cried, because it's an African phenomenon. And for those of you that don't know, it is not about cleanliness. It is about subjugating female sexuality because of incest. They don't want the incest to occur within their families. And two, it helps to look after polygamy. They don't want to see lesbianism, which was a major problem there. okay, or women still needing to be sexual when their husbands are polygamous. This is what it's really about. It's not about cleanliness at all. Women still menstruate, they still pee, all of that is still going on. So it's about male incest, and it's about these other things. It's about their polygamy, and that's what it's really about. And Islam, how bad of you to support that. Is there anybody else I need to thank? Oh, I need to thank the family that has continued to employ me. Thank you. I need to thank Donna, allowed me to sleep in little cubbyhole places sometimes. Thank you. I'd like to thank Earl, my former fiance, for helping me out sometimes. Thank you. I thanked, let's see, I thanked the Germans, I thanked the Russians, I thanked God, I thanked Mr. Trump. I thank the Americans for not using those weapons. Thank you. And thank you for not using the eager lion when I went in and put a flag up. I went in mid-August 2014 and warned them about several things. We'll discuss this. Thank you. Now, Jupiter is going into Leo again. You're looking at another 7 years from now. No, another 8 years from now it starts. We're not going to go through this war again, this war period again. You're not going to be allowed to have this great global machine descending in that area. It isn't going to happen. God willing. And we can do that with geo-regionalism, and we can clean up and monitor our resources and look at things with geo-regionalism. And building our faith with God, because He or she will make that possible. Thank you.
We're done.